Hello and welcome to the Paul Green Comedy PaulCast. This is for July 13th, 2024, episode 227? Yes, 227. All right, stand-up comedian, actor, and improviser Paul Green coming to you as I pursue my dreams, sharing what I am learning on the journey, and what a journey it has been. So, if you follow the podcast, you know that about 3 or 4 months ago, I started writing a new act from scratch, and that has been going very well. However, I am about maybe 15 to 20 minutes, depending on how it's going. 15 to 20 minutes into writing this new act, and there's some good news and some bad news. The good news is it's going very, very well. I'm having so much fun with the new material. The problem is now I'm just sort of doing the same thing over and over again. I mean, I'm still tweaking and refining and adding a little bit here, taking a little bit there, but I've really been focused on refining that 20 minutes, and I haven't really gone back to the drawing board to try to write the next new 20 minutes. And that has been my focus these last few days. So yesterday I told myself I'm going to go get 2 hours of writing in. It's a Saturday. I didn't have any shows on the books. And I got pretty close. I think I got about 90 minutes. What I like to do is go to a restaurant, I plug in some earbuds, get something to eat, and then I put some meditation type white noise music in my earbuds, and then I set a timer, I turn my phone over, and I just say, don't you dare turn that phone over until you hear that alarm go off. And that usually means I turn my phone over 3 or 4 times. I ain't perfect at this. However, by the way, I do not even want to begin to approach politics on my podcast. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to express any opinions on it. I am just going to state that when I was at the restaurant, there was a handful of TVs, and all of them were covering the Trump incident that happened yesterday. And that just made it a little bit more distracting, because obviously that is a fairly significant event. And so I will admit my focus was not as strong as I would have liked to it have been, but I did commit myself to writing, and I put some words on paper. The problem is, I don't like any of it. There's nothing that I've written down that I'm excited to try out, which is not usually the case. Usually when I'm writing and I come up with something that I feel strongly about, I'm really excited. I'm excited to go give it a try and to see how it works in front of a live audience. And interestingly enough, everything that I've written in the last 3 or 4 months that I was excited about to try out when I wrote it, I mean, a lot of that material is still what I'm doing. Part of my new act still. So if I don't feel excited about it while I'm writing it, and it's just like, oh, well, okay, I wrote something, maybe I'll go give it a try and maybe I'll surprise myself. I don't know. I don't know if that is a good thing. It's probably not, but maybe there's another side of this to where I just go, well, maybe I just need to get in the habit of anything that I write down that at least seems like a decent comedic bit of writing. I should just go try it and see if it has legs instead of, filtering it out without giving it a shot. Who knows? Maybe, at an open mic or something, I try it out and maybe it has legs, maybe it doesn't. But I don't know. I'll figure that out. I'm just, I don't know. I don't want to call it writer's block because I am writing stuff, but it just nothing is like super exciting. I don't feel like super strongly about it. And I think the problem is this last set that I'm doing, I have a couple of bits that I absolutely love. And so I don't know. There might also be an element of me trying to, it's like I've set a standard. It's like, well, when I feel this strongly about a bit and I have this strong of an opinion of it and I'm really excited about delivering it, well, that's what I want every joke to be. And I don't know if that's reasonable. It's like, well, of course, I only want every joke I ever write to be the funniest thing I think I've ever come up with. So I don't know how much of this is I have sort of dug myself a hole because I've now created an unrealistic standard. Or if maybe I'm now trying to force it a little bit and going like, oh, well, I would imagine it's like what a band goes through after they've had a big hit. And then, they've had their big hit. They've been touring for the summer. Everybody knows the song. It's been on the radio. It's ubiquitous. And then they have to go back to the studio and then go, okay, well, now we got to write another hit. Who's got one? Right? And they kind of have to have that moment of, I don't know, you got anything? You got anything? But now there's been this precedent that this band writes and produces major hits, and they don't ever want to go backwards. And so then there's this pressure to write the next big thing. The next bigger thing than what they already wrote. I mean, I just think of like Taylor Swift, like sitting in her studio going, okay, well, what's the next one? What's the next big hit now? Or, any popular band or pop star since the beginning of time. So, not that I just compared myself to Taylor Swift, but I did a little bit. If you got a problem with it, just shake it off, all right? Oh, look what I did there. Taylor Swift puns. Sorry, you don't have to cheer for me. I'm just the anti-hero. Oh, I did it again. Anyway, if that offended you, I just don't want to have any bad blood. Oh, I did it again. So many Taylor Swift lyric references on the Paul Green Comedy PaulCast. That's all right. So that's just where I'm at in this writing process, is looking to write the next, 20 minutes. Can I get another 20 minutes that matches the intensity and just all of the things that this set that I've been doing, it's been so much fun. It's probably the most fun, like the most fun period in my life as a stand-up comedian. I cannot think of a period of time that's been this fun. Actually, stand-up comedy has almost never been fun for me. It's always been a struggle for me. I never liked my material. I never liked what I was doing on stage, but I didn't know why. I didn't know what the problem was. I kept trying to fix it. I would take classes. I would read books. I would go to workshops. I would do all of the things that I thought I needed to do to figure it out, but nobody had the answer. And about 3 or 4 months ago, I finally got the answer. And when I just decided, okay, this is what I need to do. I need to abandon every joke I've ever written and start over and write differently and write with a different point of view, write through a different lens. I changed my onstage persona. I changed how my onstage persona relates to himself and relates to an audience. And it's been so much fun these last couple of months. And yeah, I've had the ups and downs, and I've had sets that didn't go well. And, I was trying to out a bunch of material and not all of it worked. Matter of fact, I cut so much of even the set that I'm doing now has been really pared down from what I was even doing a month ago. But it's been so much fun. The last 3 or 4 shows that I've done, I think with my birthday show. I did that birthday show on June 27th. And that show was just unbelievable how incredible that show went. And then it just happened 2-3 more times. My 2 headlining shows over the weekend, and then my show Thursday night at JP's. Just so much fun. So, yeah, I think there's a little bit of me resting on my laurels a little bit, just enjoying working on the material that I'm doing that I already know works. And, yeah, it's not fun to just be like, all right, just put that on ice, put that in the freezer. That's good. It's preserved. It's a good set. It's going great, but I need to expand on that, and I need to get that 20 minutes up to about 60 minutes of comedy that's all consistently that high intensity, that well written, that well crafted, and all of that. And I think I'll be good. So what did it take me? I think I started this in about April is when that all went down. So yeah, it's been about 3 months. So it took me 3 months to get about 20 minutes. So if I stay consistent with that, I should have an hour in another, 6 months? Is my math right? So beginning of next year, assuming I can replicate 20 minutes of new material every 3 months. So what do we break that down? What's 20 divided by 3? That's about 7 minutes. So about 5 to 7 minutes of new material a month. That's not too bad. So that's the update. I have a very big week coming up for comedy. I have a show in San Diego on Wednesday. 2 shows in Gilbert, back at JP's on Thursday and Friday. And then Saturday, I'm actually going to be back in Los Angeles. And I've got a show Saturday night in Los Angeles. And I have a cool little networking meeting, or little networking party with my talent agency out in Los Angeles. So I am looking forward to that. It's a beach party. I have been working on my beach bod, although not super great. I haven't done a great job, not going to lie. I've done an okay job, but not great getting my beach bod. I signed up for a group fitness class. I've been pretty good at going. I have cut down my calorie intake, but I have not been super strict. So there is room for improvement. It's a growth opportunity. But that'll be a very fun week. So I'm going to have 5 shows in a row. Wednesday in San Diego, Thursday in Gilbert, 2 shows in Gilbert on Friday, and then a show in Los Angeles on Saturday. So that'll be very fun. All right, so I'm going to finish off today's episode with a fun little thing that I've been doing where I've been reading the 48 Laws of Power and then pretty much critiquing how I don't actually think the laws are sustainable. I think that they are short-term laws that can temporarily get you to a certain stage of power. However, I'm not convinced that these laws will help anybody with a fulfilling or meaningful rise to power, or that when they achieve that power utilizing these laws, that there will be anybody who can stand them or that they will have any meaningful relationship left in their life. It just seems like every one of these laws will pretty much assure that you will burn many bridges and damage many relationships and violate the trust of people who maybe didn't deserve it, at least from what I am hearing. So now today's law is similar to yesterday's. It's not as black and white to me if this law is good or bad. So the law is like avoid unlucky and unfortunate people and treat them as infections. Okay, so first of all, not a big fan of referring to human beings as infections. Although I can appreciate the metaphor, I get what he's saying. And I do think there is some truth to that one. I gotta give that one a little credit, because there is some truth to just avoiding people who have a high probability, if they are in an unfortunate position or they are unlucky, that they may use that as an excuse to bring you down with them and to maybe have an undue influence on your bad luck. Now, I'm hesitating with this because I was also raised in a religious tradition which taught that we should be loving of people, we should be taking care of each other, we should be caring for the sick and the needy and the afflicted and the poor and the widow, and I do feel strongly about that. I still have a value system that, at least in the back of my mind, says it's not inappropriate to exert some charity from time to time. Now, like anything in life, there's a whole spectrum, and there is such a thing as being too charitable and giving people too many chances, which then make you vulnerable to getting taken advantage of. And how many times have we heard that story of, somebody in the family is struggling, or somebody sees somebody on the side of the street, and out of the goodness of their heart, they want to do a little good Samaritan action, and then, it leads to some like major dependency or like major financial difficulties. I had a buddy out in LA who was a very successful actor. He had a bunch of like national commercials. He's in a bunch of big time TV shows. And then he had a buddy, who was kind of down on his luck, and he lent him some money. And then it just turned out that the guy was actually on drugs and, wasn't using the money to actually better his situation. He was just using it for drugs. And then my actor friend ends up, after giving this guy, it sounded like quite a lot of money, like at least around maybe 5 digits, like 10 grand or something, if I remember correctly. But then that buddy of mine, who's incredible, fell upon some hard times himself, couldn't book a gig in a while, and now that money that he had lent out would have been very helpful, but of course the dude never paid him back. So there's also the whole saying, no good deed goes unpunished. So I may be stretching the principle here a little bit and turning it, where he's saying avoid unlucky or unfortunate people, and I am converting that to mean those who are poor and those who are needy. I guess it doesn't necessarily need to mean that, but there are just so many things that could happen to any given human being on this planet Earth that would just leave them in unfortunate, dire circumstances. But again, my inclination is, as much as I feel safe or I feel on board with exercising some degree of charity, some degree of compassion to somebody who has had an unfortunate thing happen to them, I also don't plenty of times. I'm really big on not giving money to just handing money to people on the street. That's not my jam. And by the way, I am not even going to get into debate on whether we should or should not do that. If you want to give money to a dude or a woman who's asking for it, and whatever, go for it. I have a very specific reason as to why I don't. Matter of fact, I am going to tell a story. So, this was a while ago, maybe about 15, 20 years ago. I was hanging out with a couple friends of mine. We were in downtown Mesa, and as we leave downtown Mesa, a gentleman in a wheelchair pulls up, very unkempt, et cetera, starts giving the sob story, everything that's gone wrong in his life, and of course, he wants some money. Now, I was with my buddy. His name is Coy. And Coy did something that I had never seen anybody do, ever. I was so blown away with how he handled the situation, and it was masterful. He just started talking to the guy and wanted to find out what exactly it was that the guy needed, right? Because usually what they say is, oh, I need this amount of money because I need to buy food for these kids, or I need this amount of money because I need a bus ticket, or I need this amount of money because I need a hotel tonight, or blah, 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 blah. Now, of course, the counter argument to giving money to people on the street is we are not sure what they're going to spend the money on, and there's a good chance that they just buy it on alcohol and drugs, and therefore we have enabled them, right? And that's the counter argument, and I totally get that. I also get the argument of like, hey, I'm going to give them money, and what they spend it on is none of my business, but I just want to be charitable. I have the money to give away, and I'm going to be charitable. Totally respect that. I do not judge either action. So, anyway, 15 years ago, hanging out with my buddy Coy and another friend, and we're talking to this gentleman in the wheelchair. So, what he said he needed was $8 or something like that, because a bus that was accommodating to his wheelchair was going to be coming by in the next 10 minutes or so, or 30 minutes or whatever it was, and he needed to buy a bus ticket. So, what my buddy Coy does, he goes, oh my gosh, you are in luck. I have $8. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to hang out with you until that bus gets here. We're going to make sure you're okay. If you need something to eat, we'll get you something to eat, and we're going to hang out, and then I'm going to pay your bus ticket in full right when the bus driver gets here. So smart. So smart. So as soon as my buddy Coy said that, this gentleman just spent the next, it seemed like 10, 15 minutes of just back and forth with my buddy Coy about, ultimately what he was trying to do was just find a way to get the money. It just became so obvious that that was his only objective. And, just like, well, I don't want to make you guys wait. It's getting late. The bus is probably going to take a little bit of time. And anything that this guy would say, my buddy Coy would just have the perfect response, be like, "Oh, I don't mind waiting at all. I'll wait. I'll wait another 2 or 3 hours. I want to see you get on that bus. I want to help you out. I want to make sure that my money is going to a bus ticket to get you home. It's not going to anything else." And then the guy was just like, "Oh, well, no, it's not going to go to anything else. You could just give me the money and I'll make sure that gets that bus ticket." And my buddy Coy would be like, "Hey, man, that's so great that you're willing to do that. I think the best thing is that we just hang out. We can get to know you. Let us know what's going on in your life, and we can grab a bite to eat, and we're just going to wait right here until that bus gets here." And then it just became so blatantly obvious that there was no bus. And he kept on like pushing the time frame back. Like at first the bus was going to be there in 30 minutes, and then it was going to be an hour, and then it was going to be 2 hours, right? He just kept trying to make it more and more inconvenient for us to stick around. Long story short, I don't quite remember how it ended. He wanted to like make a fake call. He ended up making a fake call to the bus station, and then and then confirmed that it was now going to be like, it was running like 2 hours behind. Now it was going to be like 2 a.m. or something like that. And he like clearly didn't call anybody. Just funny. So once I saw him do that, anytime that I have ever even engaged somebody who's, maybe asking for money or whatever, I follow that same pattern, and I just start asking questions. And I cannot tell you how many times I've been approached by somebody, looking a little unkempt, and they say, "Hey, can I have a couple bucks for food?" And, I'll be like at a gas station or whatever, and I'll be like, "I'll do you one better. I'll walk right into that gas station right now, and I'll buy you a hot dog. I'll get you some chips and a soda. How does that sound?" "Oh, well, I didn't really want a hot dog." I'll be like, "Well, you said you wanted some food. What food do you want? What can I get you?" "Oh, well, maybe if you just give me the money, then I'll be able, And the second, so my motto is, if I'm going to offer somebody approaches me and needs a little help, whatever it is they're asking for, other than just straight money, I'll do my best to provide. And there have been times when they took me up on it. There have been times where like, "Yeah, I'll get you some food." They'll be like, "Great. Oh yeah, I would love a whatever." And I'll be like, "Sweet." And I would go buy them the food or whatever. There was this one time where I pulled up and these people are like, "Hey, I need some gasoline." Or this guy approached me and said, "Hey," sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. So I went to a gas station. This guy approaches me and just says, "Hey, I need some gas for my car." And I said, "No problem. I got a gas tank, or I got a gas can. I will fill it up. I will drive you to your car. I'll put 3 gallons of gas, and then you can drive it back here, and I'll fill up the rest of the tank for you if you're struggling or whatever." And then he just started, "Oh, well, no, I actually need to put the gas directly in the gas tank. It can't come from a can." And I just said, "Wait, well, where's your car?" He's like, it's like a mile up the road." I'm going, "Well, if your car is a mile up the road and it's out of gas, and you're saying that you need to put gas directly into the car, otherwise it's going to break the engine," which of course is absolutely not true, "then how are you going to get the gas in the car in the first place?" Oh, well, and he just knew that he had been had, and I just cut him off, and I said, "Hey, sir, listen, I'm a very charitable person, but I absolutely will not be lied to, and so I'm sorry, but I will not be giving you any money." And then he just said, "All right, thanks," and then walked away. But there was another time where I was at a gas station, similar thing. This, couple just said, hey, can we have a couple bucks for gas?" And I honestly, I was actually a little agitated because I didn't believe him. And I just said, "Okay, sure. Where's your car?" And they're like, "Oh, it's right there." They're like, yeah, we're so sorry. We're just low on cash, or maybe it didn't even sound like they were necessarily needy. Just like maybe they forgot a debit card or something like that, and they didn't have any cash, but they needed gas, and they couldn't even get gas in their car because they didn't have a way to do it. So I was like, oh yeah, sure. So I put some gas in their car. There was this one time where I really ended up. Actually, I can think of two incidences where I'm going to say backfired, which sounds pretty disingenuous because backfiring means I actually had to end. Actually had to end up exerting a lot more charity than I had maybe initially intended exerting. So one time there was like this gentleman, and he actually had like a wife. It looked like his wife and a couple kids with him, and they were in a parking lot, and he was actually like waving cars down. He was like very proactively, trying to get some money or whatever, and he flagged me down, and I rolled down the window, and I'm like, hey, what's going on? What do you need? He's like, hey man, we're just trying to get a hotel for the night. We're low on cash. Anything you can do to help me out or help us out? And so, following my friend Coy's example, I thought, oh, I know how I'll get out of this. And I just said, hey man, I'll do you one better. You guys hop on my car. I'll take you to the hotel, and I'll pay your hotel room. And he was like, really? Oh my gosh, that would be incredible. Hey kids, this guy's going to help us out. And all of a sudden, this family of 4 piles into my car. And I'm like, okay, where we're going? They're like, yeah, we have this motel like in downtown Mesa or whatever. And I was like, all right. So I drove him to this hotel in downtown Mesa. It was like $60-$70 or something like that. And they're like, and hey man, we don't really have any food or whatever. And I was like, all right, no problem. Let's hit the gas station. So we went to the gas station and, bought him some like chips and some drinks and stuff. Yeah. So that one backfired. That one backfired. Probably the most drastic one is, gosh, this was a long time ago. I was leaving church, and there was this, I don't remember I was there alone. I must have been closing up after something. I don't remember the circumstances, but there was really nobody else. Or maybe I was teaching a class. I feel like I was teaching a class, and the class had left, and I was like a Sunday school class or whatever, and I was locking up the church, or maybe it was like a seminary class I was subbing for or something. But anyway, so as I'm leaving the church, there's this homeless guy in the lawn, and on the lawn, and he was just like, hey, can I talk to the pastor? I'm just looking for some help or whatever. But there was nobody else there. I'm like, well, there's nobody here. What do you need? And he just goes, well, I'm trying to get to Texas. Now, this is in Arizona. Trying to get to Texas, and just looking if maybe I could get some help with some food or whatever. And I just said, oh well, I'd be happy to get you some food, but I don't have any like cash on me. He goes, oh my gosh, that would be so great. And I just went, oh crap. I was hoping that they were just trying to like get some money out of me, but he was like ready and excited about the prospect of getting some food. So I just said, okay, I guess just hang out here on the lawn, and I'll go find a grocery store. Just hang tight. I'll be back. So I drive to a grocery store, and I buy like some, like some bottled water and, like some granola bars and some fruit, and just kind of like a little kind of like snack bag or whatever. And, I buy a couple grocery bags full of just sort of, just random food. And I half expected the guy to be gone when I got back to the church, but I got back to the church and he was still there. So I'm like, oh, well, here you go. And I just handed him like 2 plastic grocery bags of food. And he was super grateful, super excited. He's like, oh, thank you so much. This will help a lot. And then he just started walking. And I started driving out of the parking lot. I'm just watching this guy just walking by himself, just now holding these 2 plastic bags of food. And so I rolled down my window again. I just said, wait, what, like, where are you going? He just goes, oh, I'm just going to Texas. I'm like, are you, how? He goes, oh, I just kind of hitchhike. Keep in mind, this was Phoenix, Arizona. I don't know if you know geography very well. Texas is a long freaking way to walk from Phoenix. And I don't know. I just something triggered super charitable Paul Green that day. And I just said, oh, sir, I don't think it's safe for you to hitchhike to Texas. That's a long way. It was the summer. I'm like, this guy's going to end up passed up on the road or whatever. And I'm like, sir, is it cool if maybe I get you maybe we can try to get you a bus ticket? And he was like, oh my gosh, that would be so incredible. So I was like, all right, just get in my car. So he gets in my car. I look up the number for Greyhound on my phone. I call Greyhound, and like a bus ticket to Texas was like $40 or something. So I just said, all right, I can get you a bus ticket to Texas. How about that? And he's like, and he was just incredibly grateful. And I ended up, ironically enough, also driving him to downtown Mesa. That's where the the great town lived in downtown Mesa. That was a long time ago. I might be mixing geography here. But anyway, drove him out to Mesa, bought him a $40 bus ticket, and sent him on his way with 2 bags of groceries. Anyway, I just realized I've turned this podcast, and look how amazing I am every once in a while. Before you all think I have some saying, trust me, I have turned my nose up to countless opportunities for charity. Anyway, what does this have to do with the 48 laws of power? I went on a huge tangent there. So this idea of avoiding unlucky and unfortunate people. Yeah, I get it. I do think there is some truth to that, or at least I do feel that being charitable does require some discretion, and that it may not always be the best solution to get entangled with somebody, especially on any sort of ongoing basis, that is seeking, needs something from you, or has had a bad stroke of luck, and then, out of maybe you feel guilty or whatever it is, you have some survivor's guilt, whatever, and then because I don't mean to be cynical, I'm just trying to be pragmatic. There is a potential, and I've seen this happen, and it's happened in my life as well. I've had some experiences where I was trying to be compassionate and charitable and benevolent, and did absolutely have it blow up in my face in incredibly painful ways. Stories I don't really want to share. I'm only going to share the stories where I come across as some sort of benevolent, charitable saint. Those stories are far and few between, but they have happened. I have pulled over many times in my life and have helped a weary traveler or a broken down car. I shouldn't say many. Again, that makes me sound charitable. I have done it a few times. So I get the principle, and there is a principle of we ultimately become a amalgamation of the people we spend the most time with. And I think it is impossible for us as human beings to not absorb the characteristics and attributes and mindsets of the people who we spend the most time around. So in that regard, calling the unlucky and unfortunate an infection, I know it's pretty harsh, derogatory language, but I can see his point in that one. And I do think that is important, to surround ourselves with the lucky and the fortunate, or the hardworking, or the ambitious, or those who, to some degree or another, embody something that we want to experience in our own lives. However, if we find ourselves surrounded constantly by unfortunate, unlucky, people who have had bad things happen, whether that was their fault or not, and then, they take a negative attitude, or they take a cynical attitude, there is some danger there that person will, in essence, pull us down to partake in their misery. And I don't think that is a desirable outcome. All right. Wow. I really went off at some tangents there, but yeah, those are my thoughts on I think it's law number 10, which is avoid the unfortunate and the unlucky. So hopefully I gave a full spectrum of maybe why it's good to look out for those who are unfortunate, but it may also be a bad thing and actually not in either person's best interest, the person receiving the charitable act and the person giving it. I think some discretion is in order in terms of who we feel impressed to lend a helping hand when asked for or when called for, and when to maybe decide to not. I probably could have worded that better. All right, everybody. That is all for today. July 13th, 2024, episode 227 of the Paul Green Comedy PaulCast. I love you all so much. I hope that my podcast is a positive influence and not one that makes me a malignant infection in your life. All right, everybody. You're all awesome. Love you all so much. Hope you're out there following your dreams and having amazing, fulfilling experiences as you do so. So, this is July 13th, 2024, episode 227, and I will check in with you all tomorrow.